Colton in Illinois. Colton is a MAGA caller, wants to discuss the Jimmy Kimmel situation. I almost said Kimmy Jimmel. Either, I've heard it said both ways. Colton, you're on the line with Jovan and Jimmy. How are you?
Good evening, gentlemen. How you doing?
Just fine. How's the weather in Illinois?
We're chilling.
A lot of storms lately. A lot of northern thunderstorms.
Yeah. And
how's that place that conservatives call a hell pit, Chicago?
Is that where you are?
Oh, Chicago is awful. I completely agree.
Terrible, right?
As someone who's been to Chicago, I loved it. Anyway.
Yeah. No, you weren't able to.
I mean, there's things to like the food, but the food's pretty good.
Yeah, but then you have to going from hot dog cart to hot dog cart under enemy suppressing fire the whole time. I mean, it's basically Beirut over there. All right, Colton, what did you want to talk about on the Jimmy Kimmel situation?
So I was compelled to call because you made a pretty good general comment that separates me from a lot of MAGA, and I think that you can agree with Donald Trump's policies without agreeing with certain decisions. So I kind of wanted to see what Jimmy Kimmel said if you had the quote available, because I honestly had not seen it yet. And I thought maybe talking about it with someone could be pretty interesting, and thought it could be interesting for your show to have a conversation with somebody who is neutral.
Sure. I wonder, before I tell you the exact quote, I wonder if you would tell me not what because you said you don't know the quote, but generally understanding, because I assume you're in a MAGA community, what category would you consider it in? What are you expecting it to be like based on what you've heard? Are you expecting it to be a direct comment mocking Charlie Kirk dying? Are you expecting it to invoke Charlie Kirk's name and disrespect his memory in some way? What is what kind of joke are you expecting it to be that was what the right has then said is worth firing him for?
I've seen Jimmy Kimmel talk, I know he can be kind of, edgy. So I'm assuming that maybe he just made a comment that some people took the wrong way. I don't think it's as serious as people are making it out to be, because people in MAGA love to love to talk about how liberals are too sensitive, but then they can be very sensitive themselves.
Indeed. So here's what I want to do. Before I read you the quote, I want to give you a scale we're going to work with, and it's going to be a scale of 1 to 5. And 5 will be, oh no, fuck Jimmy Kimmel. He definitely deserved to get fired for that. Whether the government did, whoever did, his head deserved to roll, metaphorically. And then 1 is going to be, that's what they got offended by. That's what bugged them. And I just want, after you hear the quote, for you to give me the 1 to 5, and then we'll talk more about it. So,
all right, sounds good.
The joke happens in 2 parts. The first part, actually, I would say, is even not so much a joke. I don't think it was even meant to be funny, but it was, we hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them, and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the pointing, there was grieving. That was part 1. And then part 2, on Friday, the White House flew the flags at half staff, which got some criticism, but on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this. He then plays the clip of Donald Trump being asked, as a longtime friend of Charlie Kirk, how are you holding up? He responded with, I think very good. And by the way, right there where you see all the trucks, they just started construction on the new ballroom for the White House. As though he actually, if you watch the video, it's very apparent he barely was listening to the question and just wanted to talk about the ballroom. And it gives the impression that it's not affecting him at all, that Charlie Kirk has been killed.
Honestly sounds about right. I've noticed one of Trump's tactics is to steer a conversation in another direction. That honestly, even without the clip, that doesn't surprise me. That sounds.
Would you say it's a tactic, or is he more like sundowning and just can't focus on anything other than what's on his mind at the moment?
I think it's a tactic, only because he generally does that a lot. That's not the only.
That's why I don't know if it's a tactic or if he's just.
I think it's just him. I think
he's just finally sundowning.
I think he doesn't care about anybody else, even with his own. I think if his son died, he would try to think, how do I score points off of this more than anything else? Maybe Ivanka, is the exception. Maybe he would feel worse about Ivanka the same way we all have conflicting feelings about the first girl we were in love with, but I don't know beyond that. I don't think.
Okay, that joke was pretty
really
good,
quickly.
Thank you, Colton.
Colton,
Well,
I'm just wondering.
Let him give his score
like,
1 to 5 real quick.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna say a 1 because honestly, it just sounds like a general observation to me.
Indeed.
Like to me, it doesn't
So-
even
so
sound like
Colton,
it's trying
do
to be
you-
funny. It's just a general observation, which I don't see the problem with a general observation.
I agree.
Do you think that the head of the FCC, Brendan Carr, should have gotten on a podcast and said that if ABC doesn't do something about Jimmy Kimmel, the FCC is going to come down hard on them?
I think that is government overreach. The government, the way I understand the First Amendment is it is freedom from being suppressed by the government for your speech. I will say that ABC was probably, the news networks were probably persuaded by the government to fire him, which is wrong. Because the way I understand it is the government cannot come after you for your speech unless it is like, oh, I'm going to kill the president or whatever, like a direct
Which was an
threat.
example
But
he was
that you
giving
can't-
everybody.
but It is not.
Yeah,
It is
careful.
not protection from private employers. Like if you say something at work, the speech may not be protected by your private employer. You can still be fired.
Correct. Colton, if Bob
reprimanded,
Iger had fired him and there was no evidence of the pressure, which the evidence came months ago when Donald Trump said Colbert down, Kimmel next. But if there was no evidence of that and Bob Iger was just like, no, I'm not having somebody on the network, I'd roast the shit out of Bob Iger for being a whiny little pussy, but I wouldn't have gone, this is an infringement of free speech, which is right now the popular opinion amongst the MAGA people is that, no, that's just consequences. The government is just issuing you consequences. And this is what the FCC is for the public good. That is their argument, with very few exceptions, though notably some exceptions that are honestly surprising. You know, Tucker Carlson, Ted Cruz, and a few others. I can't remember them off the top of my head.
No, I honestly, I heavily disagree with them because the whole reason the First Amendment exists is so you can't be prosecuted by the government for your speech. That's kind of the whole point.
Colton, then you admit here, as somebody who is MAGA, you admit that the Donald Trump administration is engaging in government overreach.
Absolutely.
What about suppression of free speech?
I think that it is an attempt to suppress certain forms of speech, yes.
So can you give us something comparable?
Specifically speech he doesn't agree with.
Do you believe that Trump was still a better choice than Biden?
I think that from a mental health perspective, yes. And I voted for him because of better border security and economic policy. The reason that I voted for him on the border is that I had a teacher growing up. Her name was Ina. She was from El Salvador, and we did not like how people were able to so easily cross the border when she had to wait the due process. Because she came in during the Reagan era. It was the 19th. I think she came in like 1984, 83, and so she had to go through.
Colton, why when you, so in that scenario you have two people you could be angry at. You can either be angry at the immigrants who are doing it to survive. Like for the most part, if you look, the overwhelming majority are just trying to get a better life. They might be fleeing a hostile area, an impoverished area. You can be angry at them for bypassing a system that is built to be very hard to get through. Or you can be angry at the government for making it so difficult to get through and for creating a world in which our economy now relies on exploited immigrant labor. Because while it actually relies on that quote unquote illegal immigration and to be able to exploit a lot of that labor now. So why when those are the two groups you chose to be angry at, why choose the immigrants? Because it was harder for my mother came and she overstayed her visa just like most illegal immigrants do. There were no repercussions for her because she was a white woman with white kids. But if she was brown, obviously they're deporting people like her now, but not her. She's now a citizen, so that's easy enough. But even though she violated all of that. But why, when you're sitting and you're going, boy, there's a problem with this, why are you not scrutinizing the rules that make it so hard for good, honest people who just want a better life to get in, who make it hard for people who are hard workers but poor to get in? And why go for, I'm mad at you because I'm seeing you as breaking a rule that is almost made impossible to actually keep to unless you are already wealthy?
Because a lot of them, when they come here, are exploiting government systems, such as they're putting them on Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. And I will say, I am a legally blind American. I'm a legally blind American, so I live partly off of Social Security along with my part-time job. And seeing people exploit systems that people like me need to survive does not sit well with me.
This is weird. We've had two people call in as
Colton,
legally blind in the last 4 days, and the last one we caught lying about it. It's weird.
Well,
anyway,
at the end of the day, I just want to point out, Colton, like none of what you just said is happening, right? They aren't actually taking services away from Americans. They're paying more into the system than they're using. Well,
right.
They were. I don't know now because, now they don't want to pay taxes because if they do, they might get deported. But they were using ITIN numbers. They were paying almost $100 billion into taxes. And a rough estimate shows that they were really only taking in, they were really only using like $60 billion in benefits on the high end. So
still
they were paying more than they used.
Right. Not to mention even the ones who weren't using ITINs were still supporting the local economies, which eventually ends up in taxes as well. But again, what you just described there, Colton, was a problem with the system. Even if you go with some number of them, even if you were right and it was a net negative, why not be angry at the system when you still know most of them coming have the intention to be here to work, to support their families, and if just given a legal path with freedom from a chance of being deported just because the government doesn't like you anymore, they would overwhelmingly do it. And we would skyrocket the amount that they are paying into the system. And that $100 billion that's already higher than the highest estimate of what they're taking would go up by so much more. I get these financially, Colton, I'm not mad at you because I think you've fallen for what is essentially the easier way to make a person politically radical on one side or the other. I can give you a bad guy that you feel like you can affect and change, where you can see that their life is more inconvenient, that the bad guys are getting the stuff, rather than try and point you to a bad government, which will feel impossible to change. But you feel like you can change the lives of these bad guys that you think exist, that don't exist in the numbers you think they do. But it feels like you have the power there. It's much why cancellation works too, and why I'm more at risk of being canceled by members of my own audience than I am by opposition, because it's people go for the people they think they can actually affect and harm. I think you've just fallen for a scam, a MAGA scam, Colton.
I honestly see where you're coming from. I agree to disagree. I'm not going to go off on you the way some of these idiots do.
Wait. I don't just say you agree to disagree, though, Colton. Ground your disagreement in some type of anything, right?
Like a fact.
So I see the issue as, even if it is the government's fault, that's not an excuse to take advantage of a broken system. That's like saying, well, there's no cops around, so I'm going to speed and cause a car accident.
Who's more likely to take advantage?
Who's
more likely to take it?
Wait.
Go ahead.
But Jimmy, don't even start there. How are they taking advantage of a system that they pay into?
It's more of an analogy of, just because there's not something over there to regulate it doesn't mean that you do it.
Colton, you're basically bummed out that there's inadequate paperwork, and that's because the government won't allow it. That's what you're bummed about here. They're not taking advantage as a net. So you have individuals you're upset at. This is what I said is the scam, when the greater positive, it's a greater positive for us. And if we would just give them easier access, it'd be an even greater positive. But you're just look at American citizens versus quote unquote illegals. American citizens are more likely to both commit crimes and take advantage of systems whether they need to or not, including amongst the people who are the lift yourself up by your bootstraps. I wonder, Colton, if you'll know the answer to this. Who of the top 10, let's just go with 10, the top 10 states that use the most welfare, are they red states or blue states? And when you answer, by what proportion do you think it is?
I would say if we look at the most expensive and biggest economies in the country, so that would go California.
I don't know why. Was that, Colton, was that my question?
So you want a more general answer. I would say it's a combination of both, but more blue states, as blue states have bigger economies.
So as far as if you want to go with a flat number is no good. You have to go with percentages because it actually tells you another story. Per capita, 8 of the 10 states that are using the most welfare are red states. And by the way, the blue state that you wanted to point to, California, while you might have a higher number of people, overall number of people on welfare than you do in Mississippi, which is the highest per capita, Mississippi takes more from the federal government than it pays in, where California pays the federal government more than it takes in. In other words,
almost every red state.
Right. Not only is California covering their own welfare by the money they're paying in, they're also paying for the welfare in Mississippi, in Kentucky, in Alabama, in Tennessee, because the blue states have a surplus and the red states have a deficit. So the red states have a higher recurrence, higher percentage of welfare recipients than the blue states, even though these are the blue states are often the states that you guys think that, illegals are taking away from the systems and everything. And yet they're generating disproportionately more income than they are taking from the government.
Yeah, the only red states that I think it's literally just Texas and Florida are the only red states that don't. And that's Florida is because of Disney. If Florida didn't have Disney, they'd be screwed. And Texas is just because it has 3 really big cities.
Florida's economy was also built on, hey, we're getting echo back, Colton. If we're on speaker, you got to kill that or something.
Okay.
The blue. Remember too that Florida has switched between red and blue, and if you want to track to policies that caused their economic boom, it was all the blue policies that got you Disney and the like, and the red ones are the ones that have decreased growth and increased inflation, much like Donald Trump.
Absolutely, Florida was a swing state for the longest time.
Correct.
So I just want to. I still think we need to boil down to something here, Colton. You voted for you're MAGA. You support Donald Trump. You support the MAGA movement. You don't support their current attacks on free speech. I assume you don't support a lot of their do you support stripping people of their legal right to be here if those people speak out against Palestine? Like this administration has been doing to people like Mahmoud Khalil and so many others?
I believe in deporting people who absolutely take advantage of systems, but if you're speaking out against Palestine, I think that you have freedom of speech to do that if you're here. Okay. Because the laws apply to everyone. So if you are here.
Okay. If you're only for deporting people that take advantage of systems, then you wouldn't be for deporting undocumented immigrants. You'd be for deporting anybody from a red state.
I think
because the red states are historically take advantage of this system of federal taxes by not paying in as much as they take in federal aid.
What actually happens everywhere? It doesn't just happen in red states.
Just way more in red states.
It's not about where it happens more. It's not about the proportion. It's about the issue itself.
It's both, though. It's both. It is absolutely both. And it's ironic, too, because the red states will vote against their continued access to welfare, even as they are disproportionately taking it and having it paid for by blue states.
The domino effect is funny, isn't it?
It's weird. I think you mean the horseshoe effect.
The horseshoe effect, yes. It's funny, isn't it?
Yeah. Colton, what I'd like is, because we have other callers lined up and only so much time to do it, what I'd like to do is go back, watch the call again, think about the things we've talked about here. And I'd love to have a follow-up conversation. If you want to do, Jovan and I will both be back next Sunday. But I feel like we've sat here and given you some stuff to think about. I've had a good time. Right now, you've had a good time, I hope. And so I'd like you to let's have a follow-up conversation on this. And after you've, certainly if you want to go check on some data and stuff, if you want to fact check anything we say or further follow up on any, because I think it will have to be upon that basis. My goal will honestly be to, dare I use the word radicalize you, to recognize that people and immigrants aren't the problem, the government is. And the government being so far away from the people is the problem. And no one is worse than countering their values, than being hypocritical when it comes to, we literally right now have the largest government we've ever had, and supposedly we elected the small government president. So if you're a citizen, the amount of government in your life has dramatically gone up. But if you're a business, it may have gone down, except for the tariffs, which are skyrocketing for you and increasing your taxes like crazy, even as they're doing the tax breaks for small businesses, which will be offset in a way that mostly affects the poors. It's Colton. Right. It's a wild thing. Can we do that? You want to follow up with us maybe next week? Thanks.
Absolutely. Nice meeting you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, you too, man.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, have a good one.
Cool.